Yes, and here we are again with a new episode of Dance Gems. Today we're going to talk about proprioception. That's a difficult word, but we'll explain it later. And the invisible guide to body coordination. That's what we think proprioception is. And, a man who knows everything about this is my good friend and colleague, Ton Greten. Let me see if he's there. Ton, are you there?
But y-
Yeah,
yes, the mic
there.
was not open. I'm there, Sean. The microphone was not open.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I took a topic today, and I think this is in the middle of your heart, so to speak.
Mm.
Proprioception, the invisible guide to body coordination.
Yeah, that's yes. I didn't know the word proprioception before. I just discovered it 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And you know that word a long time, Sean, or you
Yeah,
also
I
just
knew
discovered?
I knew that word a long time, but I always had a harder time to really give it meaning. So I called it body perception, which is part of proprioception. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I called it body awareness. Sorry, body awareness, which is part of proprioception. So, but after working with you on your book, Dance Gem, it became a lot more clear.
Yes, it's very interesting. Maybe we can put the words, explain the words what propria is
Yeah.
and ception is. Maybe you can tell that, Sean.
Yeah, the word proprioception, there are two words actually in there. The first word is proprio, which means possession, and it points to yourself, and it's you, proprio. And then you have the word ception, and you could already hear in there the word perception, which has a lot to do how you see things and what you are aware of. That's how I explain it. What do you say about that?
Yes, absolutely. But what you can do with dance with it, this is our subject actually, because it's actually so invisible, that awareness of that body in the now. It's actually not in the past, it's also not in the future. Could be in the future, but what you feel is that's in the now, body and mind. And actually, the perceiving information goes through our Sean. To what goes that?
Well, the perceiving information goes, of course, it goes through several receptors, so to speak, right? You perceive
Mm.
through your eyes, you perceive through all your five senses. But actually, the the organ that kind of puts all this together in a way are, of course, your brains and your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I use it now a lot in my dancing. And the it's it's strange when people come who never danced. They come into your studio. Doesn't matter, children or older people. Older. That's so a dirty word because I'm not old. But when people come from my age in the studio, they have no reflection to their body and feeling to their body. That they look a little bit stiff, a little bit. Sorry, guys, if you never have danced, sometimes a little bit clumsy. And they say also, I have never danced. I'm actually stiff. I don't have a rhythmical feeling for dance. But that's not true.
Okay.
Um, yes, because actually your body is the only part what you have with you, the body. Every second, every millisecond, microsecond, whatever you can call it, it's always there. It belongs to you, to that brain. And how you perceive that through your skin also. You feel it. If you get it cold, you can feel that. If you get it warm, if you burn your skin a little bit and you scream, that's you get aware from your proprioception. And if somebody hurts you or hit you, yes, this hurts and it's painful. This is your proprioception. But we don't call it proprioception at that moment. We say only, I burn my fingers, or ah, you hit me there. Why you did that? So actually your skin say give the signal to your brain,
Yeah.
and the brain registrate that one. That's the same with the eyes and the ears and the smell and the taste. It goes everything through the brain because there are other things. Eyes, ears are instruments.
Yeah.
And when it's instruments, actually they cannot think, the eyes and the ears. That would be very strange if they could think. So that's first what you need to perceive information. And if you have that information, you can make, from your awareness, you can make a decision. And then you have exercise also for it. And the first exercise, what I would do is put one finger to your nose. And if you can feel that, yes, or bring the fingers together. And you see, I had a mismatch. So, but for my brain operation, probably. And I practice now the proprioception, Sean. My slippers, sleeping slippers, I don't know how you call them in English.
Slippers are
Wha-
good.
Yeah, slippers are good. I put them in the front of my bed, and when I come out in the side of my bed and it's dark in the morning, I'm searching to them and I can slip immediately in my slippers because I know the day before I already put them in a position that I that my feet can find them easily. And is I do also exercise for people, like they take a tennis ball with the eyes closed and then they will feel what it is, or take a banana and they feel, it's a banana. And when you close your eyes and you close your ears and no sounds coming in through that ear to the brain, then everything you have to do with feeling, with your how you say tankle, what's that?
Tangible.
Yeah, yeah,
Tactile.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's, yeah,
yes.
tactile. That's the word we're
Tactile, tactile.
that's
That's
the
the
word
word.
we're looking
That
for.
was the one what I'm looking for,
Yeah,
Sean.
that's
Yes.
okay.
And you can hear that I'm a Dutch man who have not enough English. But anyway, tactile. And that's very, very important for a dancer. Very important. We will explain it to you in a short matter. But uh, in a while, we go to the beginning, the very beginning, as a small, small child. Sean, how we feel as a baby or child, small child, how we feel, how
Well,
we
you
could feel, or we
well,
discover the things what is in the space.
yeah, you see that a young child still there's the five senses of a child are still very much in a development stage, right? And you see that a young child in early development uses a lot of touch and taste. Everything that they feel they want to put in their mouth. Uh, and that's a very natural process. The vision actually, although the eye already works perfectly, but it doesn't rely yet on the vision. And one of the reasons why is because that's a pretty big overload of information. Because can you imagine, you live for 9 months in the dark and then suddenly you can see. But in those 9 months, you were already able to feel the difference between temperature. You had a sense of taste. We probably then also think that a baby already has a good sense of smell. So those senses are then automatically, when a child is born, also immediately there available for the child. Hearing is there, but it's also still in development because it's limited, right, within the womb of the mother. And then seeing is definitely still also that needs to be all understood. And bit by bit, that's the first thing of proprioception, the world of the child becomes bigger, right? In fact, the world is equally big, but the world of perception becomes bigger. Do you see that word proprioception comes now nicely together? It starts from really small and it starts to expand, 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 expand. So there becomes a greater awareness of the space around and everything that moves in that space of the child or in the world of the child, which directly links to proprioception. Your microphone is off.
John.
Yeah.
Um, this is also when a child starts to move, they imitate
Yeah.
through the eyes
That's
and
how they
try
learn.
to
Yeah.
imitate their parents or who is in that room. They try to imitate that one. And this is also, they try to look, but also to feel not how the other feel, but how they self feel to stand on their feet and the head, how it's going through space and find their balance. And then we come slowly to our dancing. Then we start when we are 6 7 years old, we start maybe to dance
Mm-hmm.
and move freely. We go to a dance school and then suddenly you learn steps and you imitate the steps, because actually everything in dancing, that's my opinion, it's on the schools and on competitions and on the companies, it's unnatural because everything you learn by imitating,
Yeah.
and you develop then maybe your own style from it. But if you want to make a shortcut in that one, in that learning process,
Mm-hmm.
then make be aware of your proprioception. In my gem method, I have the 10 body parts and try to be aware of my 10 parts, how they bend, stretch, and rotate, or extend and rotate. Once, if you are aware of it, then maybe you can be aware how to place it in space diagonally, vertically, or horizontally. And then the next step would be which quality of dynamic you want to bring it on each body part. And then step by step by step, you develop yourself. And sometimes I do also imitating, say, programs. Like I do the hustle, and then I imitate the hustle. That's a disco step, something like that. Then I know the step. Once I know the step, because I imitate it by seeing, and then I try to feel if it's is it looks the same like what I saw on video. But then comes the beauty of it. Through the proprioception, I make in my mind decisions to stand longer or make one figure faster. So I did first the structure, and then I manipulate that structure because I can handle it with my body awareness. And that's really the beauty from it, because you can make shortcuts then in it. Because the most people, and this is what I see in my world, is they imitate it and then it stops by this, and they not manipulate it after it. And that's a quite pity. If they could manipulate it, then it gets more unique. So you can imitate that figure or that dance style, but at the end, you make it your own. That's the most important.
Yeah, I like that.
Long story.
No, no, not at all. Actually, it ties into. I was explaining our your dance jam method actually to students, and I worked with her for quite a while. We never went to that point. We were more in the traditional, dance relationship. I'm a teacher and she's a dancer, and she asked me, and then she went to another studio, and has nothing to do with the other studio obviously, but she said, after all these years I feel I don't make any progression. And I said, okay, I think you actually do pretty okay, but what is it? She said, I don't feel I have any background that supports what I do. And I thought it was an interesting question, Tom, that apparently there are dance teachers that just teach movement without giving it, some knowledge support. So you have to
Mhm.
do make this movement, and it worked for her. A lot of commercial studios work like that. But the students who want to do a little bit more would like to hear what you just said. So I started with her, look at your finger, what movement can you make with it? And then she said, well, I don't have the correct words for it. They make a thingy. I said, okay, that's interesting. Let me help you to give those words for it. I said, how would you call this? Now, she immediately said her own word, bending. Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
Whether you call it
Mhm.
flexing, bending. But so when I made the movements, she came literally with close to the words that we use in dance jams. And I said, can you
Mhm.
find other body parts where you can find that? And she started to discover. Now, of course, she didn't come all to the point where some body parts can only bend and stretch and some can rotate and do all three of them. That came to discovery in the lessons. Like, okay, let's take those three things and then let's discover our body. And so I flip sided a little bit your model by this. I say so. It has two. It doesn't have to go in one direction. Um, it can come from the students themselves, and I thought it was beautiful. Ton when she wanted to actually have more she wanted to have more awareness where all these things are coming from, to give it way more context. And now I work with her. She's back, and I work with her now for maybe 3-4 weeks. It's almost like this girl is flying. So it's a little bit older woman, but I mean, she's like she wants to do all the things that she learned all over again, and she has a deeper understanding of what she's doing, and these movements come out differently,
Ah,
right? I
beautiful,
I
Sean.
I don't want to
Beautiful.
say immediately, oh, better, or
No,
differently.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
It's not better. It's different.
it's differently, and if I would use a little bit of qualifying words to it, I probably would say in my own wording, it feels connected more with what she wants to do, that she execute what she wants to do, instead of that someone says you have to do a movement, but there is no relationship what she truly wants to do. That's what I would say at best.
Yeah. Wonderful, Sean. Wonderful. What a beautiful story. I have a similar what I do in my lessons with my group lessons when I have the solo Latino,
Yeah.
uh, uh, mostly woman,
Now,
no,
I've been
only
there. I've
woman.
been there a few times.
Yeah,
I did it with you.
yeah, yes, they are. I think between 25 and 60 or 70 years, and it's a wonderful group. And I do always. I start my lessons with the 10 body parts, isolation. And I call it also proprioception. And then ask in the group, because I know I have to repeat it, to repeat it, to repeat it, because the information goes then from the short memory to the long term memory. And this is why I repeat it constantly. But also the movement I repeat constantly, but they are not allowed to imitate me. So I put some music, proprioception music. I put my own music in it. I mix my own proprioception music. So where I telling before with a voiceover, move your head. And then I put some rhythms in it. But they follow the rhythmical structure, how they feel it, but only in the head. And they have to feel the other body parts that they are standing still or keep them in place in the space. So, and they have to do some effort to keep them on the spot.
Yeah.
And what they are free to move that one body part how they want to move that. And that's really, really wonderful to see, because I have a group of 20, 30 people, and they move, everybody move them differently. Nobody imitates nobody. But sometimes I see some nice patterns with the arms, and then I imitate that one too. I think, oh, that was a really interesting one. I have to remember it. I will imitate that also, and I will use that. So they inspire me also, and I inspire them. And this is what I do every week, Sean. But I see the development of them, how they grow and they get more flexible. Even you would say with 70 you are more stiff. No, I see now they get aware more of their body and of the mind of it, and they can more decide how they want to do it. It's like magic when I look to that one. And the steps what I do, new steps like a cha-cha-cha or a disco dance or a salsa, I can see that the development now of learning goes much more faster. Or in how I say it in my gem method, in a shorter duration, they learn, they develop more faster.
Yeah. Okay. Faster and with more awareness. Do you see that there is a difference between the ages? Does younger people take it faster or slower, or
No,
is there
it's everybody the same, because
nice?
what, no, also the young children, I do it also with the young children in
Yeah.
my hip hop lessons and in
Hmm.
my contemporary lessons. Also there I see that that we not make so much connection in with our body. So I give them an example. If you have the proprioception and you want to turn through the space, traveling turns, and the task is to close the feet, then maybe you can close the feet when you think about it, about your body awareness, proprioception. In the shower, feel how you close the feet there.
Yeah.
When you are in the supermarket, feel how you close it there. If you are in school or on your work and you're standing there, think about how it feels to close the feet. So when you practice then maybe already 3 times on a day, when you go then to the practice room, you have a more understanding of that body.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of it. So you need less corrections, because you can practice this 24/7 if you would not sleep. So you
Yeah.
can practice more in your daily life than on the practice floor. On the practice floor is maybe when I practice 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour, maybe some people 5 or 6 hours. But the body, you have the whole day with you. That's that instrument. And this is that instrument what needs exercise. And it's not the body need that exercise. Yes, but the body is the vehicle. It's the brain that drives that body. And then the body gives information to the brain and vice versa. And then you get communication. And this is so beautiful. Once you have find that, Sean, it's incredible. I
Yeah.
practice now the last
Hmm.
15 years. I practice, I can tell you, daily.
Yeah.
Now, when I speak about you with you, I think also about that.
Yeah. So I think the way how I try to say it's at least that proprioception, because sometimes it feels like an abstract word, but I can let you put it in some more terms that people understand what it does, right? On the one hand, you have the coordination of your body, how you coordinate, and movement is nothing more than coordinated. Dancing is not more than coordinated movements, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
this is an uncoordinated movement if I just do it the way I do it. But actually, I intentionally did it, so it was still a little bit coordinated. But you know where I'm getting, right? So
Yeah,
I
yes.
think proprioception, if you practice that, it gives you feedback for your body coordination. And so, can you imagine that in the past, when you started to dance, your teacher gives you feedback on what you do? The beauty of proprioception is you have a great instrument in you, let's call it that way, which is called proprioception, that
Mhm.
can give you feedback of your own movement. But you have to initiate, it's a conscious effort to start doing that. And it can't, that's what Ton says, it can start really with simple things already. How do I grab my cup of tea? All and when that awareness comes up, and I was thinking about it while you were talking, I probably would put it in a diagram maybe for our listeners and viewers how that works. So your proprioception gives you constant feedback of your body coordination. Now you can imagine that the more precise your feedback becomes, that has an immediately impact in how you coordinate your movement and and then of course also your dance if it's all about dancing. But it's not all about dancing. I told you in
No.
the Dutch episode that if you keep doing that like you do it and I do it almost daily, or we do it daily, that our balance when we get older, if nothing happens to us, actually stays longer with us, which is actually a part of aging well. I mean, there's no problem of aging, to be honest. But so I gave you last time a list of all these positive implications that you have when you start doing that. Now, proprioception, you have it whether you believe it or not. I mean, you do that already. The point that Tom makes is that you can make this while you go through your normal daily life. What do you always say, Tom? If you do it only 10 minutes a day, that would already make a huge
Oh,
difference.
yes, but 10 minutes it's not necessary. 10 seconds, that would be enough already. And
Really?
then maybe, yes, 10 seconds. If you know what the challenge is,
Mm-hmm.
to be aware, to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So what
Well,
I want
no,
to
that's
say
it.
with
I
it,
like that. I like,
yeah,
yeah, to be aware of being aware of it. Yeah.
yeah,
So it sounds like we're bringing in something that, something magical, but we all have it already. At a young age, when you try to bring your cup to your mouth, it's a mess. The food is all over your face, and then I have pictures of my girl, and she probably hates me if I would show it to you, where she's eating spaghetti. One of my favorite pictures. I think the spaghetti was everywhere except in her mouth, but it was everywhere. So in a sense, there is very little proprioception. There is little feedback in how she does. But think about it like this: that's only on the surface what you think. That
yes,
making these mistakes, putting the spaghetti here, at some point in time that feels uncomfortable for her too. That's the feedback. I want to get more food in my mouth instead of on my face. I have to change something. So we
yes,
often are too quick already as a parent to show them how it's done, to
yes,
let that system go. And that's what Ton does in his classes. Let that system go for a little bit by itself. You don't have to tell someone immediately, oh, you were off balance. You think that people don't feel that they were off balance? They feel it
yeah,
themselves.
yeah. That's so funny, eh, Sean?
Yeah, we say that. I mean, I do it sometimes too. But we don't have to do that. It's better to
Yes,
ignite that feedback system, proprioception, right? Because that
yeah,
automatically leads
yes.
to a different body coordination. So that is what you guys have to write down.
It's so funny, Sean, when other teachers say, "Ah, you wasn't on balance." Exactly. Yeah, I would say, what you thought about the piece. Ah, I wasn't unbalanced, the couple will
Exactly,
say, or the
exactly.
dancers.
So yeah,
You don't have to put a finger to it, what they could feel by
most of the
themselves.
time you don't. And the beauty is, Tom, as a teacher, if someone has no feedback on that what you ask, then you can have a conversation with that person and give them a little bit hints and direction what they could think of.
Yeah.
Not immediately put it in the face like, oh, you were off timing, you were off this, you yeah,
Yeah,
just
yes, 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 yes. Exactly, Sean.
because then they start to do something that comes from outside, and then they want to mimic again what you say to them instead of let it develop within the students
Yes.
themselves.
This is
Uh,
also what mainly the most teachers doing. They doing something, they saying something, how they must do it, and they try to get that information in the head, and from the head in the brain they try to get it to the body, and then they ask to the teacher, was that good?
Yeah, it's all learned behavior. It's not even wrong intent of teachers who are still doing that. I'm sure there are many teachers who also approach it now differently, but it's learned behavior over the years. Because at first my dance class, do as I do,
Mhm.
and and that's a really great start. There's nothing wrong with it. I start
No, no,
very
no,
often
nothing
new
wrong.
classes. I just put on music and I just move. I don't even say you have to do what I do. I'm curious if they do it, if they but people do that anyhow. So I'm not saying you have to follow me exactly what I do. I just put on music, I dance in front of them, and most people think, oh, I have to do the same. I'm always curious if there is one student who is doing completely something
Mhm.
else, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, think about, Sean, every human being is unique by their DNA,
Yeah.
by their brain, how they think, by the form of the body, not the shape of the body, the form of the body, because form is this three-dimensional something. And every person is different because we are with two people, and I'm not a twin from you. Then I would have the beauty of your hair, the
Yeah.
beauty of your posture, Sean.
The
No, I
beauty
don't
of
have
my
that.
movement.
Of your movement, yes. No, no, I don't have that. I have a different way to move through space and time, and you also, and a different thinking. And we learn from each other. I learn a lot from you. You learn a lot from me. But still, you are Sean, and Ton is Ton, and exactly also with the dance steps. So you have a different muscle tension, you have a different thinking, you have a different reaction, you have a different feeling of your proprioception about space and time. It can be not exactly the same as everybody. And I don't understand why we want to be the same like the teacher who do it in the front, except that you imitate it, but you are still unique. You do it on your way. And this makes it from the proprioception, once you be aware of that muscle tension of the body parts, and once that you are unique and you are already the art by yourself, the art, the art form, that's what you are unique, and this is how you can transform information in something what moves through space and time. And this is beautiful, um, to use that instrument, that body.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's I think that was wonderful speech, by the way, Tom. I think that if you look at us as bodies, and if you're a doctor, then you start to see people almost completely alike because the building material that we have is the same. If you go to the rudimentary building material of human beings, is exactly the same. The way we in principle move, bending, stretching, rotating, is exactly the same. But the possibilities that you create are infinitive. We have, but here is a word that we haven't talked about this time, is that your choices you make with the material that you have and the possibilities that you have, that is what can make you truly unique. And since Tom says, we already, at least from an outer perspective and from weight and from the posture, and we are already unique, so some choices are already made for you. Instead of fighting that and trying to be the same as the other one, use that as your, well, maybe not your advantage, but use that as the thing that makes you already different. So why would you not play on it? And that does not mean that if Tom and I work with a team and bring those dancers, we try to bring out individualism within the team. It's not like we try to make it one complete whole and it's the same thing. That's the most boring thing in my mind in the world, to do that. And that sometimes is conflicting in people's minds, saying, hey, but we're a team. Do we not have to look all the same? I said, well, that would probably be an impossible task
No.
for me. I would not succeed. And they always think like, huh? Sean, but you're dancers, you should make us look the same. I said, no, that's an impossible task. I cannot make you look the same. And besides that, I don't want to. So we do that. I do that always on purpose. I don't know if you do that. I said, how can you? The one is Chinese and the other one is something, but that's impossible. And then they laugh. They laugh like, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
cannot look the same. But can we make the same movement? I said, yeah, you can make the same movement, but it's really okay if they don't look exactly the same. You
Yes,
can
yes.
still make.
Everybody is the same, but still different.
There is such my beauty, and to find that balance, that's of course for us as dancers, that's a skill. That's a skill.
Yes.
But
Yes, and I say also it doesn't matter. The body is beautiful in all sizes, tall, small, wide.
yeah,
Doesn't matter how the body
yeah,
looks, but sometimes we have a preset already mind how it should be, and then it goes. In my opinion, then you have an judgment, and if you have that, then what is the beauty, the proprioception that you can decide what you do with that body.
yeah.
That's the beauty of it. And I use this, Sean, now the proprioception, that body awareness in the alignments of my body. So when I do my power training before, when I didn't know the proprioception, I just do power training, power training, power training. Now I do power training, but I put the quality measures, what I put to myself, how I want to do it. I put a preset of how I want it, and I will do it. So when I do a planking, I put the alignments in it in static. When I do push ups with a
Mm-hmm.
planking in dynamic movement, then I look to the alignments, how I want to do alignments.
Yeah,
And yes, I check in the mirror if I have the
of
straight
course.
lines how I wanted them. And also with the, how you say, the squats or in the plie. All this information, I try to connect my body parts in the alignment, in space, but also in time. And remember, to do it slow needs more awareness than if you do it fast. And I'd use it also for my stretching, my mobility, and for my isolations. And then, Sean, now comes the beauty of the word. We spoke about that one. That's coordination. How you can coordinate all these lines in that body parts with a month of um, tension in the muscles, how you connect them together. And when you want to release one of the body parts or several body parts, and this is how you could say brain over body. But
My,
sometimes it's body over mind over body, or body over mind.
yeah, it's mind over matter and matter over mind. It's
Yes.
we spoke about it. There's an illusion that those are two different parts. It's just a concept to for us to use, but it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So once you find an alignment and you really look at your own alignment, you train actually your proprioception too. It goes two ways because, and that's of course really nice. Specifically, if you want to do things like power training, so I grew up as a martial artist, and at a very young age, these things were not used in those words at all. We didn't use alignment, but I know when I had to do break something like a brick or a piece of wood or something, you have to align your punch really well. So that's a technical aspect, right? And that causes that you need less force, so to speak, right? Does that make sense? So if I align when I punch, it's really important with what angle I hit that board to break it well. Now, you can always break something with brute force, but you will discover very quickly that if you want to do it in a healthy way, that alignment is a really important thing. And now I know you also did judo like I did, Tom, and we know that that not so much to do with power. It's a lot to do with how we align our body to the other ones to throw someone over. So I think you and I were already grew up with these type of things without really being aware of what we were doing. That
Mhm, mhm.
alignment and coordination are very close related to each other.
Yes, absolutely, Sean. And also, when you are aware of the body alignment, you have less stress. If you are be aware of your proprioception, you have less stress
Yeah,
because you are busy with that body at that moment, at that particular space
space.
and space time. And when you are busy with how the audience would react, or shall I do even more, or more turns there, or you try to prove yourself, then you are busy with external things instead of to reflect on your task, what you had or can do at that moment, or make a choice in that task through your options. And then some beautiful things will come out, the special DNA of your choice at that moment comes from the instinct, comes from your
Yeah,
thoughts, comes from your um, intuition. It comes everywhere from your stomach, how you feel, and then in a split second, you make that decision because you are so aware of the body parts. But what I see mainly, Sean, with the trainers is like feel this line and go far, 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 more, 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 more. And then the next movement, yes, and now go more in, more in. And I think, okay, when the couple can discover that, I know it's maybe a motivation,
yeah,
but now he comes on the competition or on the stage and think, okay, more, 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 in the body, or more stretch, 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 stretch. But why you not think by yourself and discover that body awareness in space, the beauty, how much you can reach, what is your maximum, what you can do, and what is the minimum you can do,
yeah,
or a mid reach or a close reach. And if you be aware of that body part, you can compose this by yourself together. And that's, I think that this is the beauty, and this makes it unique. And of course, when your trainer or teacher or coach say do this, yes, I can consider it, and I think yes, I will think about it. But at the end, you are responsible for that movement at that
Yeah.
moment with that body.
Yeah, so I train coaches in specific topics. The last thing I say to them is that you lead as a coach. You cannot
Yeah.
lead as a coach, and then you could do that through questions, right? So if I say, you need to speed up, I lead them. I lead them in a certain direction. But if I ask them, what else can you do with this turn? They might say, oh, I can turn faster, I can less, I can turn more, I can turn upside down. They come with a lot of things. So
Hmm.
so it is coaches, we have that tendency to lead them. Do more is a leading direction, and once in
Hmm.
a while we need that motivation, because that motivation doesn't always come intrinsic. But the more we can initiate that it comes intrinsic, the more can come out. So it is a nice interplay. I think the old-fashioned way of coaching is, that is also good for a movie, right? Rocky, it's good for a movie. It's more exciting the,
Hmm.
than put it all in the student's responsibility, right? We like that people overcome things, stuff like that. And it is in dance, but you gave me last week another example about alignment. Just lifting some heavy stuff off the floor, that's a huge difference in how you can do it. Yeah, you can do it all with your back. If you're strong enough, you can lift you can lift something heavy up. But if you align yourself by going through your knees, and looking at your ankles, it is so much more effortless. And maybe that's not what you want to see in a dance, then that's okay. But you can also think about long-term health and say, hey, maybe I should align a little bit more myself before I lift up. You come back to your original point. There's so many things we can learn from our daily things before we go
Yes.
onto the dance floor.
Yes, this is what I do. When I'm in the shower, I feel which hand I put my soap on.
Yeah,
Maybe tomorrow, when
do
you
it with the
think
other
about it,
hand.
I,
Yeah,
I do the other hand.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
do I do normally in my life everything on the right,
Yes.
but I have a shoulder. My shoulder is broken, so I do now many things on the left. So actually, this is very positive that I have broken my shoulder, because now I develop more my left side. And this is also when you are blind, you you develop more your proprioception, because you can read more with the braille. Brian, that's the
Yeah,
English word for it.
yeah.
Yes, and you get more sensible with feeling, and you find everything more faster than the one who can see,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because you remember where you put it there,
Yeah.
and you want to find it again back, so you put it on a particular space where you can find it. And this is what we sometimes forget as a human being, not to think about feeling, because we can learn a lot about that proprioception. I think that's really wonderful. And one thing what I told you also, Sean, in the Dutch podcast, is I wrote my book. I did 15,000 hours of research, and I didn't know that my whole book was about proprioception. So I discovered 2 years ago my book was finished, and this subject I had in it, but with different words. So I was already busy with self reflection, and always I use myself as an experiment. And the day before or in bed, I was thinking about it. And in the morning, again, I start new with all the new ideas what I had, start again to write it down and make the concept ready. Book was ready, and proprioception is not in, but it gets now in my second edition.
Yeah, get in. Yeah, and that's okay. We actually have a whole section, and we did a whole podcast about how important words were. You had your own words for it, which is great. And like I admitted myself, where I used body awareness and proprioception, as one and the same in the beginning. And there is actually a pretty big distinction. You can use it a little bit as a synonym when you just talk, but over time I'm writing a book now about somatic healing from people who have been through abuse, where all these factors come in: body awareness, body coordination, body proprioception and then it becomes really important to make a distinction what those words mean, but it's okay as long as you and I understand what we mean with that word. But there is actually distinction between those words. And at some point in time, you did already so much. I think that's one of the most powerful things in your book, is that you give definitions to so many things. Now, do you always agree with that definition, or do you use it different in another context? That's perfectly fine. Now, proprioception was not defined by us; it was defined already by someone else. But you had enough words that capsulated already that thing. So I think it makes it a little bit easier, maybe just for you and me, to talk about it. And now that we teach about it, um, I think what you always have said from the very beginning is that feedback loop to what you think and what you do, and that there in itself sits something beautiful. Now we just use fancy words. That's fine. And I think it's a great word, by the way, because it works, and it also, you can find it in other literature. So now we are also aligned with what other people write, and then you viewers and listeners can also do your own research on these things, and I hope you do. I hope you find your own meaning of, what does proprioception means, what can it do. It can be developed also. There is definitely measurement of proprioceptions. When that goes down, that the whole body coordination goes down because the feedback loop is broken. This makes sense. So it can be developed and maintained, and strong enough. Tom and Jean says you need to develop it if you want to have better body coordination, which in the end is all what dance is about. So that's what I had to say. I was talking now long this time. Sorry. Your mic is off, Tom.
So, Sean, um, that was funny. Um, uh, I was talking and nobody could hear it, but doesn't matter. Um, you know, I wrote something down now just on my
Mhm.
paper
Yeah.
because I remember now when I'm on my bicycle, I think about my proprioception constantly. And when I'm running and I want to do my power training, I think about my proprioception. How is my alignment? How fast I run? What muscle tension I have? Because I have many problems with my muscles in my legs, and sometimes it gets into my muscle, and I have to be really careful.
Yeah.
In my knees also,
Yeah.
with running. So I think constantly about my proprioception, even when I driving in the car or when I in the supermarket and I put something in the basket. I'm really aware of it. Even
Mm-hmm.
when I write or eat, so I don't eat like this, or and put this spoon to the head, but not the head to the spoon. So I try to be aware in all my daily activities, to be aware what I'm doing. And I see myself still as an experiment because when I go to my practice, I'm much more aware.
Yeah.
And I can do with less, I can do actually more. And yeah, since I find that, Sean, my life is changed dramatically. Even when you put it holistic with food, with sleeping, with be positive. And of course, not every day I'm positive. I have also some days where I'm feeling, oh, it's it's quite difficult. But um, I say then the word challenging, but not every day is the same, and that's also the beauty of it. But then still, I have still that body, and when I work in the garden and I think about my proprioception and I listen to a podcast, Sometimes I listen to my own podcast and I listen to the podcast, then it's the beauty that I can move. It's the
Yeah,
most beautiful thing what there is to move. And the food what I get into my body and the thoughts what I get through some podcasts from professors or from other people who are specialized in some things, that's so inspiring. And
yeah.
yes, before I listen only to music. Now I do also, but now I switch it. That's fantastic.
No, I think yeah, it's fantastic. Well, first and foremost, maybe it's fantastic for your own body. If you're a teacher, I had a young man, and they came for the wedding dance. So they're not dancers; they just want to move, and this man had hardly any capability to move or coordinate his body. So I didn't start to shift his body and show him how body needs to do. I literally worked on his sense of where his own position was when he walked in, how he stood before me, you know. So I made him aware of so about that, about proprioception. I made him, I didn't use the word, of course, but I made him aware of its own position, movement, and balance through, what he could feel. And then I said, before we continue this lesson, would you mind, before we meet each other, just during the day, be more aware how you sit, how you walk. Try to find words for you that resonates with you, instead of using fancy words like weight transfer and all that kind of stuff, right? Very often they come with close words like this to you. And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He said, "I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was always like hanging like this in my chair. And I didn't know all these things." I said, "Okay, good. What has that to do with dance?" Yeah, I said, "Everything, everything. What you do in your daily life has such an influence on if you want to move as a dancer." And so we had a lot of fun. They have their wedding next week. I hope he's doing well with his wife. But anyhow, Ton, we are. I think we had a good discussion. I don't know. Let other people. Good is such a subjective word. Let other people decide if if it was. I enjoyed the discussion. Let's put it that way.
Mm, I have two things, Sean.
Yeah, you have
If
two
you
minutes now.
apply, yes, yes. If you apply for a job
Hmm.
and you want to have a job and you be aware of your proprioception, then you are not too stiff, not too relaxed, but you are aware of it. It makes the difference. If you do your presentation as MC, or it makes the difference if you be aware of it. If you be aware of your perception in dancing, it makes a difference. If you be aware as a sporter, it makes the difference. And so try to get aware of that proprioception. And another point is, I had lessons in yesterday with my children, and I give them a task. So we move first the arm, but the hands are relaxed, and that was a task. And then we move the head on the second, say, boom. So what they did, they put the arm and the hand and the head up. I said, no, no, you didn't do the task. If you would do the task and you would reflect it to the task, what you feel in that body, then you do only the arm and the hands are weak. So, but still, they put the hand up and put it with tension up. I said, still, you cannot digest the information
Of the task.
of the task,
Hmm.
and you don't reflect it to the body. So do it more slowly. And I did, and still it was a challenge for them to put the task. So it needed at least 10 times. But now I know, if when you practice and you want to get it in that body, at least you need to do it six times or even more to get it in that body. So repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And we are on the end of our podcast. So my advice would be, if you could think only one time at a day at your proprioception, you are already a winner for me. And not a winner, that's a quite strong word, but I'm so happy if you could think only one time on your instrument what you have the whole day with you. That's one
And your
what I
body.
wanted to say. And
I
this is your body. Yes.
I like that, and yeah, I like that, and it's so much fun. By the way, to do it, it's actually it's a lot of fun. It's definitely it is. All right, Ton, we're at the end of our podcast of today. I'm glad that we spoke about it. It was great, and I think it will come back in several forms. The more we study, the more we discover, the more we do. The more feedback we can also give to you. But hopefully, we turn that around and you give us also feedback on the things that you've heard in our podcast. You agree, don't agree, it's all okay, right? But if you practice with yourself or with your students, we would love to hear that and bring that in the show, and maybe we even invite you as a guest, right? So,
Yes.
Ton, that was it. Thank you so much. I'm sure next week we'll come up with something other exciting with
Yes.
the
Ah,
dance
we have
gems.
so many beautiful subjects on. It's and
Subjective, but we think they're beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, 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 absolutely subjective. Yes, I think they are beautiful.
same.
Uh, yes, but anyway, if you came till here and you had listened it, thank you very much, and we see or hear each other next time.
Yes, definitely. This was Sean. This was Ton with another episode of the Dance Gems. We talked today about proprioception, the invisible guide to body coordination. I say bye bye to the listeners and viewers, Ton, and also to you, of course. Thank you so much. And we'll see each other next week.
Yes, bye bye. See you next week.
Bye bye. And of course, don't forget you can find us on Dash Gems, or you can find it on at Tom Greten Podcast on YouTube channel and gem.dance/podcasts on our own channel. And of course, we are on Apple, Spotify, and what have you not. Okay, we say bye bye.
Bye bye.